Hi everyone, my name is Cormit, and today I'm going to give you guys some commentary on a 25 King's Rest, which I said last week with the affixes Grievous, Fortified, and Bolstering. So first thing you have to worry about when you get inside of King's Rest are these minions of Zool. These minions of Zool could easily be killed with a purge effect, like Blood Elf or Massive Spell, or just a single purge. Normally it's really easy if you have a rogue that can just go in and cloak, and then they can belf. If you have a warrior who's a blood elf, you can also have them berserker rage and go in and belf. If you just try and run in there and use a belf or something, then you're gonna get feared. But since we don't have either of those things, we decided to just pull them out and Ring of Frost, and then our Demon Hunter goes ahead and belfs those. So next we're gonna do this 4 Guardian pull. So this Guardian pull is pretty simple. There's not much to worry about here except for dodging those frontals, which thankfully now have an animation. We do less this pull just to get it on cooldown and pop most of our CDs here because we're going to do an obelisk which gives us a nice reset. These Guardians only do damage to your tank. They do have an enrage effect which can now be soothed, but it's probably not even worth pressing the global because these don't really do that much. And then after these Guardians, we're going to go ahead and just go into the obelisk. So I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about my gear and Azurite choices here. So something you might notice compared to my other builds is that I'm wearing a lot more mastery than usual, so I've switched to a bit more mastery heavy gear. I put on a ring that has masterful 1. So the reason I'm doing that is because this dungeon is mostly all single target healing. And usually the roadblock inside of King's Rest on this high of a key is going to be Zool, which is all about just being able to keep your tank alive. And mastery point for point is one of the best ways to do that. So I've also switched to the gold tasseled epaulettes that I'm wearing right now, and those have trade winds on them, which is another mastery proc. The other inner traits on these shoulders are pretty bad, so I'm not sure if I fully support telling you guys to wear those, but I do feel a lot more comfortable with that mastery proc, and it does seem to have really good uptime. I'm also running Crucible of Flame instead of Way of the Crane. Crucible is a lot of single target damage. Also on Zool, I don't like to stand in melee because I want to stand out so that if my tank decides to run, I can run with them. Also, I don't want to be there to bait the circle on the ground that could instantly kill. It could instantly kill your tank. The risk reward is just not really there, and also way isn't enough to keep your tank alive. And outside of that, you're not going to get a lot of opportunity to be DPSing. So Crucible, in my mind, is the best choice. I'm also running Focus Thunder instead of Rising Mist. There just isn't enough group damage throughout this whole dungeon for me to justify wearing Rising Mist in this dungeon. Focus Thunder allows me to save mana on Zool by giving me 2 free Vivifies, and it also allows me to do a lot more single target DPS throughout this dungeon. There's just not a lot of AoE. The only time you really need to worry about group healing in this dungeon is going to be on the last boss. It does get a little scary, especially with Grievous. And then I'm also running Life Cycles instead of Mana Tea as well for Zool because you're pressing Enveloping every 6 seconds, so you're going to get really good value out of it. Okay, so now that we're in this room, the first pull we'd like to do is those 2 warriors with this champion and the witch doctor. So your DPS just need to worry about getting kicks on the witch doctor. That Deathly Chill can truck your tank, but also they want to make sure that they're saving a kick for the Shadow Ball volley. That champion does enrage. If you don't have a soothe effect, it is going to chunk the heck out of your tank. And those warriors, of course, are spawning those really annoying tornadoes. It's really hard to not get hit by those tornadoes. Something you can try to do is have your tank, if he stands perfectly still in the middle of it and you stand right on top of him, the tornadoes will never hit will never hit your tank or yourself. However, it's kind of hard to pull off. It's hard to get your tank to actually just stand super still for it. You're just going to see us finish off this pack. You're going to see, so we trapped those minions of Zool. Again, something you might normally do if you have a rogue is you might have them go to the spawn point when all the mobs are spawning and just sit there with cloak and then belf and then vanish. However, since we don't have that, we just trap them there. And the reason we keep them trapped there for so long is because of bolstering, because if you do go up and just try to belf that, it'll bolster your whole pull. So this pack is basically just like the one before, but without the champion. And then the pull after that is just like the first pull we did. So same things to worry about, just worry about kicks and dodging those tornadoes. This pull is usually a nice reset pull because it's a lot easier since there's no champion in there wailing on your tank. I'm gonna go ahead and skip. So next we do this 4-pack. Again, nothing for you to really worry about, just make sure you're watching your tank. If they decide to, some of them, because this pack gets pretty bad sometimes, decide to kite around the dais, so make sure you're ready to do that. Maybe put a Transcendence down so you can keep up they especially might want to consider tanking if you don't have a soothe for that champion. Because the enrage does stack if you don't have a soothe. It's pretty unfortunate. Okay, so after this, we're gonna go ahead and go into the first boss, the Golden Serpent. So a couple kind of like tips I have for this dungeon, or sorry, for this encounter. Using Thunder Focus Tea on Vivify for mastery is the best way to keep someone else in your team alive. And if it goes on yourself, then I think it's equally as good for you to use Thunder Focus Tea on RSK if you're already in melee, because that gives you a DR and some extra healing on yourself as well for the versatility. And then if it goes on the Demon Hunter, I basically won't use anything because they don't really need a lot of healing. When I'm saying on your teammates who are in trouble, I'm mostly talking about your rogue, or in this case, your mage and your hunter. So my hunter just turtled that, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Thunder Focus Tea for RSKs for damage, which I could get punished here for if it goes on the major hunter. Not the versatility isn't good for single target healing, it's just not as amazing as the mastery is. So it goes on my demon hunter and he nethers the second half of it, so I don't get punished at all. And then it's going to go on my hunter. So what helps me heal this is that my Swirling Sands proc is falling off, but I do have a Trade Winds proc right here. So it helps me top him between every single tick. It's really powerful when you get that proc. It just does so much healing. So I still have my Trade Winds here, and I'm going to use my Thunder Focus Tea for extra mastery on him. And I'm going to be able to top him between every single tick. Mastery is really, really great in this dungeon for being able to do that super good burst healing on one target. So it's on my Demon Hunter, so he's just going to blur, and Demon Hunters, like, they barely take any damage compared to your other DPS here. It's going to go on my Hunter. Make sure that you're putting enveloping on them, especially if you don't have some kind of mastery proc or Thunder Focus Tea. So it's going to go on me. So I do have Thunder Focus Tea available for myself, but I'm going to opt not to use it because instead I'm just going to go ahead and pop Forward Brew. Usually I'm really trying to save those Thunder Focus Tea charges for when it's going on someone scary or for damage. So it's going to go on my Demon Hunter, so I think I'm going to do damage here. Yeah, I choose to use my Thunder Focus Tea for damage because I don't want to sit on it anymore, and he doesn't really need that much healing. You can also be helping with these golds in the back by putting down a ring. Okay, so something I kind of make a mistake with here. So he has a cast time, and I know it's going on my Hunter. So what I should have done when I saw it was going on my Hunter is I should have went and stood out and ranged, because he's going to do the AoE circle, and that's going to require me to move instead of just sitting there and being able to channel on my Hunter. So what's going to happen, he's going to take a tick, but I have to move right away. So I get like one Vivify cast, and what I do is I call for him to Health Pot and Healthstone. That's why Discord is really nice, because when you make a mistake like that, you can call out for them to use it, and it's really nice if you can save that early on in the fight for when these kind of hiccups happen, so that you can make up for it. I also could have cocooned him. I probably just didn't realize how low the boss's health was, and that I could have just probably safely used that CD on him. Yeah, so he gets to live for that. Next it goes on myself. I'm just going to pop Dampen. Something that's really great here is Diffuse Magic. However, what's not great about Diffuse Magic is on the third boss, if you get 2 of the Severing Axes. After you Forward Brew the first one, you don't have anything for the second one, and you're probably just going to die. So it's kind of like risk reward for both. Which one would you rather have? And I would rather take Dampen, because Dampen at least helps me somewhat with the Spit Gold buff on the first fight. But Diffuse will not help me at all on the third boss. So I usually always take Dampen in this dungeon, unless it's bursting, and I think I need to diffuse all of the bursting from the blobs in the second boss room. So we got the gauntlet. Again, it's random which mobs you get first. So we got these two, the Queen and the King. So make sure you're dodging that Blade Storm. My Hunter is dying to an Ignite here. It takes me far too long to dispel that. Make sure you're watching out for that and dispelling that much sooner than I did right there. Really fun, they get like the Vita charge buff when someone gets MC'd. So they hurt a little bit more when that happens. Just making sure you're dodging the Blade Storm if someone gets MC'd and you don't have like a Demon Hunter or something to help purge, that you're going out there and using your belts and rotating them. This pack is pretty boring. Okay, so next we get to this 3-pack. So there's 2 things to really look out for here, and that's the Channel Lightning and the Axe Barrage. No, the Axe Barrage can be like stunned and interrupted, but eventually he's gonna go DR'd and it's gonna go off. So one thing you can do is you can have your tank the mobs right here, and you guys can line right here, or you can just tank here, and then you kind of have to go all the way back here to try and line. Where this gets really spooky is when the guard captain is doing the Axe Barrage, and he starts doing the channel lightning, because normally you're going to be the first one that tries to interrupt that with Ring of Peace. We're going to see where that goes wrong here. So he's going to do his first Axe Barrage, and we're going to interrupt it. He's going to try again, we're going to interrupt it, and you're going to see my other two Oops. Sorry. My other two DPS went in line. Sorry, my bad. We'll do this again. They're going to go back in line, and then I'm going to ring, but right before the ring went off, the Axe Barrage went off. And so you're going to see our mage die. He also had a lot of corruption on him, I think. But yeah, as far as interrupting the channel lightning that goes off, you want to make sure until it actually starts channeling the lightning. If you do it while it starts just the initial cast of channel lightning, he's just going to recast it. So right there you can't wait, you can't interrupt it, but right there you can. So normally you could ring the first one, and then the second one needs to be a belt knock. When it gets to the third one, about halfway through like the channel, your ring will come back up. So you can just ring halfway through the channel, or you could just save another belt knock for that. And if for some reason you get a fourth channel lightning, then you can use your ring again. So next we have the 2-pack, I believe, which is like the archer and the raptor. So you can ring the raptor when he jumps on someone to stop his AoE cleave. So right there it's going to jump on my hunter, and I'm going to ring it. He's going to kind of sit there dazed for a second, and he's going to go back in melee before he jumps again. It just helps you be able to cleave them a little bit if you ring that first one. So this archer does do a lot of damage. So you saw my tank just got chunked there, and he decides that he's going to run outside the room. It would have been nice if I had predicted that and had a Transcendence out or something, but I didn't. So just make sure you get back there, pumping lots of healing into him, because it's easy for the tank to spike here, and you're making sure that you're not going to die to that hunting leap. Make sure you're saving a roll charge for it, and if you're scared because you don't have a lot of mobility, make sure you're just getting out of melee so that you have longer to react to the leap so you don't get one shot. But yeah, this 2-pack, other than just pumping your tank and dodging that raptor, is pretty simple. So the last thing we have left is this 5-pack. The only thing to watch out for here is that you are dispelling the poison, and that you are dodging the purple swirlies. If you dodge those purple swirlies, it'll be a one-shot. That poison, it isn't such a big deal, but it's nice if you can dispel it right away, because then it won't leave a green puddle on the ground, and that just leaves your team a lot more room to work with. Yeah, our mage pulled aggro here, and so I'm trying to ring. And then we put the binding down, but he's still gonna teleport, but then he gets rooted right here, so our mage is actually pretty safe now that it's rooted in the binding. That's a pretty common thing when you have a fire mage and no rogue to provide tricks. Okay, so after this, okay, cool gets really big, we DPS him down, and then we're gonna go into Fear Obelisk. I revivaled off the first set of fears, and so sometimes people kill Samric right here because they want to kill the Colossus that's on the bridge. That's part of the route, but that's not part of our route, so we're gonna drag it past the Colossus. We're also gonna drag it even further into the room because we're gonna actually use this portal later to make another skip on the bridge. So you see that we just put the portal down here. So we kind of waited in the portal, and then our tank went around and he grabbed all of the embalming fluids, and we're trying to hold off on DPSing until they're all stacked up in hopes that we can even cleave them. Bolstering can get pretty out of control in this room if you aren't even cleaving. Our mage is combusting, but he's trying to switch targets as much as he can. However, the ignite's probably going to troll us a little bit, and this pull's going to take us a little while. Yeah. Our Demon Hunter tried to be a good boy there and save his beam for the end, but didn't quite pay off because they were just already so different in health pools by then. So you can just, since you're a Mistweaver, you aren't considered a range. You don't get targeted by these green swirlies. So you want to try and help out your range as best you can. If they get slowed by one, you want to dispel them so they don't get hit by another. And if you dispel them and they get hit again, you can always Tiger's Lust them as well, and that'll free them from the slow. However, it's not like freedom. It's not going to make them immune from future slows. So next we have the 2 Colossuses in here. So what we like to do is you like to pull one, and then we go over to this side. And the reason we want to be over on the side like all of us is so that when he chooses to entomb us, we will go in one of these tombs. You're going to go to the closest tomb to you every single time. So we're just going to try and sit here, and the reason we just sit here and we wait to pull the second one is because we want their entombs to be desynced, because if both of them try to entomb someone and then try to entomb in the same tomb, it's going to bug them out. But if you desync their entombs, you basically don't have to deal with that. However, if you pull it like at the same time, or you get really unlucky and both the entombs are going off, what you want to do is you want to have the two people that get targeted with the entombs stand by different tombs. Because when it entombs you, it's going to always put you in the tomb that is closest to your character. So yeah, so we're just going to do that. Just making sure I'm getting my DPS out, and we're just cleaving these down. So you're going to see we're putting markers around the 4 coffins. So there's a way to bug out this boss so that after it does its first burning flames AoE, and then drain fluids, and then the entomb, after that entomb, the boss won't do any more mechanics for the rest of the fight. And the way you do that is, as soon as someone gets entombed, as soon as that coffin shakes, you have to click it immediately. Basically before the boss goes and starts channeling on a coffin to open it. So the way we set this up is that we assign everyone a coffin. So the healer and tank are guaranteed to not get picked. So the healer and tank always take one side, and the 3 DPS take the other side. So I'm going to take X. You might have noticed that I put a Transcendence down, and then the tank is going to take blue. And then the 3 DPS are going to be on the other side. Now, obviously, one of them is going to get picked to get entombed. So normally what we like to do is we like to assign, like, say, like, Hunter is going to have Star, and Demon Hunter is going to have Diamond, and then the Mage is going to float. So let's say the Hunter gets entombed, then the Mage goes and covers their coffin. If the Demon Hunter gets entombed, the Mage goes and covers their coffin. And if the Mage gets entombed, then it doesn't change at all. Whatever DPS were assigned to the original coffins stay there. And you usually have like a few seconds to react to realize if you're the DPS who's floating, what tomb you want to go to. So what I'm gonna do is drain fluids. So our rogue, sorry, not our rogue, our mage invis there, which means he's gonna do another burn corruption before he does entomb. You see he's doing entomb and he's gonna put it on the hunter. So if we said it like it was before, then now our mage is going to go and cover Star or Yellow, and then our demon hunter is gonna stay where he was, and then as soon as that DPS gets the opportunity, they're going to spam 1 so that they can shake as soon as possible. And I'm going to be the one who clicks. I'm going to watch. I'm hovering over it. As soon as it shakes, you want to click it right away. So now the boss is bugged. So now he's just going to sit here and wail on the tank. This is a little bit concerning, especially if it's like necrotic or something, and kind of on Grievous, because this boss is like the hardest hitting boss in all of BFA. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention, especially when you're warrior. If for some reason they aren't going to have like shield block or something up, this boss could easily 2-tap your tank, and they want to try and kite or whatever they can to live. Yeah, other than that, this boss fight stays pretty easy after that. Something to know, if you try to do the trick and you're sitting there and you're just like really eager to click the coffin and you accidentally click it, as soon as that bumping pops out, you can just paralysis it. Also, you can just hunter trap it. I think you can sheep it. I'm not sure if you can cage it like on a demon hunter or anything. But theoretically, we could all just go and click a coffin and then just CC all the mummies. Also, if you have one of the mummies with the boss, you could just do a kick rotation on it, and then it won't do anything and it'll just die. But yeah, if you can do that, it saves you a lot of time with this boss because you're not having to dodge the AoE as a healer. You're not having to try and heal the person with drain fluids. Personally, even though you just have to sit here and heal your tank, it's much easier for me to heal this boss when it's just one person taking damage. This boss fight's pretty boring, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip. Go back 10 seconds for us. Okay. So right now we're sitting here and we're waiting for the ads to spawn. And this is gonna be our lust pool. It's gonna be the 2 witch doctors and the berserker. This pull can get a bit scary because you run out of kicks, especially on bolstering. If you just like decide to focus one of the witch doctors or something down, then the other witch doctor is going to hit even harder, and that berserker bleed is going to really truck. So you always like to lust this pull, and what you're going to notice is that before we pull, like as my tank is running in, I'm going to hang back, I can't explain it to you, but there's something about this pack that if you just stand right here or even in this corner, because this isn't quite LOS, for some reason, as soon as the witch doctors spawn, they're just gonna start casting on the healer. Like, they're just gonna snap threat to the healer, and I don't know why it happens, but I've died to it so many times where you just get double spectral bolted to the face. So I always make a point to just stand way back until I know that both those spectral bolts have gone off to go into this group. So normally you just want to make sure, like, if you have a warrior, he's probably going to go in and double spell reflect, or they might interrupt it. And then after that, you want to make sure you're getting as many kicks on those spectral bolts as you can. As far as that berserker goes, he's going to leap into a bleed. I have this nice weak aura, which I'll put in the description, which tells you when the next berserker bleed is going to go out. And so normally you want to try and bait that on someone who's not the tank, because you don't want them to get a lot of stacks with it. And you can immune it by using Demon Hunter Blade Dance or a Rogue with Parry. Alternatively, if you have a hunter, you can have the hunter just go put their pets right next to the berserker before he bleeds, and they'll go in the pet, and the pet will die, but then you can res the pet. I also, as you saw there, I tried to be the one to go up when I wanted to eat it because I had Dampen and Forward Brew. However, I just got lucky and natural dodged it, so I didn't have to use any of my CDs. So now we're going to go back and use that portal that I told you guys about, but our hunter isn't with us. He's going to use camouflage and go ahead and activate the blob portal so that we can use that to skip to the third boss. The trash that's next to this obelisk is actually, like, pretty good count and pretty easy compared to the trash on the other side of the bridge, like the double berserker pool. However, we want to clear, like, this half of the bridge so that when we're on Zool, if we decide we want to kite back, that we have room to do so. So we're just going to pull the blob, and we're going to snap the little tentacles here, and we're going to drag it to the third boss. So the order this week is Charge, and then Kula the Axe Lady, who's the scary one, and then it's going to be the Totem guy. Any week where Charge guy is before the Totem Lady is my least favorite because it's really hard to stack in for the charge when the axes keep spawning, and also if someone has a severing axe, that person's like guaranteed to die if they go in and soak with a charge. But on this high of a level, if you don't have everyone soak the charge, then you're going to die. Now thankfully there's a lot of ways for you to dodge the charge. The hunter could fang it, the demon hunter could blade dance it, the mage I'm pretty sure they can invis it. I'm not 100% on that. And what you can do is you can jump off the edge before it's about to go off, and then keep a transcendence on the platform, and then after it goes off, transcend back. And you'll see me do that later. As far as this backhand goes, the debuff that gets on your tank if they don't dodge. So normally if someone gets the debuff, the backhand debuff, the healer that's like the paladin or the druid will taunt it. So it gives a tank room to kite. However, since you have a speed taunt, it's not a good idea for you to do it. And normally I just give my tank Tiger's Lust so they have some speed to kite it, or I call for the Demon Hunter to taunt it. So next we have Kula. All healers love this boss. So for the Severing Axe, there's also ways for your DPS to immune the Severing Axe for most classes, for all 3 DPS that we have here. So something to note with Kula is that if your tank taunts the boss directly before she casts Severing Axe. So our tank didn't really quite do it here. So you can't see who it's targeting. Oh no, you can. Sorry. My record didn't quite update there. So if your tank taunts directly before it does the Severing Axe, then you will see who she's targeting on the target of target. Otherwise, it'll just always show that she's targeting the tank, and then the axe will go out, and you'll have to try and guess based on which direction it's going, like she's facing when she throws the axe, who it's going on. So if the hunter can turtle in time before the Severing Axe hits, and they get to be immune to it. Same thing with Rogue Parry. Demon Hunters can just like blade dance as it's going out, so, and like because they have unlimited charges of it, they don't have to worry about wasting blade dance, or not unlimited charges, but because it's up every single time, they don't have to worry about wasting charges of it. And then mages can ice block after they already have the application on them. And then you can't do anything except hope you natural dodge with your 2% dodge. So yeah, so our hunter immunes it. And so I just get to keep DPSing. At one point there, you did see the charge also targeted the hunter, but he just feign deathed it. I think we're about to get another Severing Axe here. So it goes on our mage, and he's just going to block it. He doesn't have to try and pre-block it or anything like that. The same way the hunter had to try hard it, or a rogue would have to. You can just do it after. And then we're gonna get one more Severing Axe here, and it's gonna go on me. So yeah, you saw it on the nameplate. If I had an immunity, I would have had time to react, but we don't have that luxury. So unfortunately, I get the axe, and in that same instant, I get the barrel through. So something I could do here is I could put my Transcendence down, and then jump off and try to transcend back. However, I decide that because I have the Severing Axe on myself, that's a really bad idea, because that requires me not healing myself for like at least 3 globals, if not 4, because I'd have to put the Transcend down, move to the edge, jump in the air and hover in the air for a second and a half, and then jump back. And if I died in the air while I was trying to jump off, there would be no way to battle res me, and since we had 3 battle reses, I just made the call that I was just going to die. The safety play is definitely the play there, in my opinion, if you have the battle reses and the time. And looking at our time right now, I was pretty sure we had the time. So that's the play I decided on. But you will still get the barrel through at some point during this fight, so you can see how I transcend it. So whenever Zanzel summons his totems, you usually want to go try and help out with that explosive totem. Something to note about the totems, they don't take AoE damage. This is especially annoying if you play Windwalker and you try to Fist of Fury them. But yeah, if you go up and you try and spinning crane kick, then you can't do that, like, a lot of damage. Or any damage to that. If I'm worried about my group not having a lot of like burst damage or focus damage for that explosive totem, in this case we have 2 range, so I'm usually not really worried about it. Then I usually like to save a Crucible charge. Yeah, so you see I'm gonna get barrel through here. Got hit by the thing on the ground. So what I did, see I put my Transcendence down here. And so you don't really have like as good of like a, like you don't have like a cast bar when the barrel through guy isn't active. The only indication that you know for when you're gonna jump off is your timer. So I highly suggest you do have your save bubbles on, so you're not like staring at your chat log or something. But usually whenever it says 2 is when I like to try and jump off, because you can free fall for quite a little bit of time. I wouldn't try and free fall that long, because you might hit like the cutoff where you just die from fall damage. But yeah, I like to try and jump off the edge around when it says 2 above my head. So it says 1, and then after it says 1, I know I can transcend back. About a half second after it says 1. So I'm going to come back and we're going to kill the explosive totem. I'm going to kill these totems, and that's basically it. So I'm going to get another barrel through, but this one's not going to go off. You can only, actually I would have been able to transcend that one, but when that boss is active, you can only transcend every other one. So next we do this double Berserker pull. Again, double Berserker is pretty scary because the bleeds do stack. So our Demon Hunter is trying to Blade Dance one, and our Hunter is going to try and bait it with his pets on the other. Again, I'll link you guys this week, or it's pretty useful if you're one of the DPS trying to soak the bleeds. Our Demon Hunter looks like didn't successfully Blade Dance that one, so we're just going to heal him through that. Yeah, other than that, this pull is mostly out of your hands. It's also in your interest, like if you see your tank already has one, and like, oh, I'm just gonna soak another one. You should probably just go in and soak it for them, because it's pretty easy to heal through one as a Mistweaver, especially when you're running this much mastery. It's really not that scary when you're not taking any other damage. But healing through a 2-stack, like you see my warrior kit right there, is almost impossible to heal through. So we're going to finish off this Berserker, and then we're going to gear up for this 5-pack here. So remember, when you go up to this 5-pack, there is RP. So you want to try and trigger the RP before you do the pull. Also, there's a Brute there, so we're going to wait before we pull. So we just have time to kill. So I'm going to go here, trigger the RP. And since this is a bolstering, we want to CC these 2 Hex Priests, because they have like half the health of the other 3 mobs, and bolstering is really bad. When I did that, though, I did pull all the mobs, but it's fine. My take is right there. he'll get aggro before I die, hopefully. Yeah, this was nothing too scary. The frost shocks hurt. You can always Tiger's Lust those off so that person isn't slowed. Like, I have it on myself right now and I don't really care if I'm slowed. But especially some people will pull like that mob with the brute or something and it'll really get someone like stuck in the brute AoE. So make sure that you are Tiger's Listing that off if someone needs it. And that, we're just gonna kill these 3. We chain in the 2 headhunters, we're just gonna kill those. And then next we want to do this 3-pack, but again the brute is in our way, so we're just gonna AFK here for a while. Oh, actually no. We're going to pull the brute. And then we're gonna do the 3-pack and then that'll be it, except for Zool. So this brute, pretty easy. If you are going to get stuck inside of that crush, something you can do is you can put a transcendence down so that you only take the initial damage and you don't take the fall damage. I know on like a 22 I can live it with like Fort Brew and stuff like that, but obviously most of the time you just want to try and get out. You can also ring to stop that. It's only really useful though if you're communicating with your team, hey, I'm going to ring this one so they know to stay in melee. But most of the time I find that the reward isn't worth the risk unless the brute is really close to dying, because no matter what he's just going to cast it again and you're going to have to move out anyways. Yeah, so we just kill the brute or this next 3-pack. So the Beastmaster is kind of scary here. He does Deadeye, which will knock you back, so you want to make sure that you're not standing near the edge. You saw right when we pulled there. Remember those Hex Priests I told you about? This is just like that, where even though my tank ran in and immediately thunderclapped and it was the first target like of threat for those mobs, it just turned and Spectral Bolted me on pull. And then these Raptors, just like the Raptor in the Gauntlet room, you want to make sure you're putting good distance between yourself and it if it's about to jump. Saving a roll charge. You can bring a piece it if you need. Also look out for those poison barrages. As soon as it goes on someone, you want to dispel it. If it goes on everyone, of course you do have revival. I think at some point here it goes on me and I just let it go on the whole group basically. yeah, here it is. Because I move away from the Raptor, I'm really scared. And I don't want to move, so I just let it go on everyone because I know I have revival. Otherwise I definitely would have moved to the side. So this Raptor is getting really bolstered, so it's really scary. This pull usually takes a little bit of time because all of the DPS are saving their CDs for Zool. Oh yeah, our team hunter died there because that got scary. I mean, not because it got scary, but because that leap is scary. Okay, so looking at Zool, so we kind of talked about this before, and I'm not really used to this, but our warrior wanted to be ready for us to kite, and I haven't seen someone kite Zool in a long time. So I wasn't quite ready for the strat here, but you see I'm gonna put my Transcendence down so that way when he does kite, that I have a way to get across the bridge quickly, because he's going to leap and then he's probably gonna intervene me and then leap and then intervene my statue. I think I accidentally moved my statue though, which is something you shouldn't do. Like at the beginning of the poll, I just like absent-mindedly put it down again. Yeah. And then I realized my mistake, but it's fine. So I kind of want to stand in the center of the room here so that I'm ready to go when he kites. And I also, I talked about this at the beginning, but I want to talk about it again. I don't think you should stand in melee. Like, I know it's really tempting that you want to get in there and try and get a couple RSKs to help DPS down Zool, but on a higher key, like when that circle spawns, it's really hard to get Shadow of Zool to move, and it makes your take so much unnecessary damage and use cooldowns that they shouldn't have to use. So if you have everyone else standing at range, it's a lot less risky there's a lot less risk that the circle is going to spawn on your tank, and it's just going to spawn on one of you guys, which you can easily move out of. Yeah. If you can get Shadow of Zool to move, it's pretty easy to outrange, but it is a bit annoying. So I get this Dark Revelation. So I kind of move back because I don't want the AoE to go off. So after the Dark Revelation, an ad is going to spawn, and I do a really bad job here. I should have moved, or I should have belfed as soon as I saw it, because you have enough time before it fears you for you to belf. But I kind of just tunneled, which is completely my fault, and I get feared. Which is really bad because my tank is very close to dying. So then I cocoon him. I'm gonna top him back up, get him out of Grievous, and then decides he's going to kite, but it's also really bad because I got feared that I'm kind of out of the way and I transcend back, but I don't quite save him here. But it's okay, we kill him. But yeah, again, Master is really good for this fight. I didn't really do a good job of showing you guys here how you should approach this fight as a healer with that kind of strategy because I got feared and because I didn't have my statue in the right spot, but hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes. It's also really nice if you have like a demon hunter or something that like they're ready to purge the thing, but either way I definitely should have moved a lot further from it. So next we have the boss. So with the boss, I think we have the kick obelisk, which isn't anything too crazy for you to worry about as long as your group isn't overlapping kicks. The only thing you really have to worry about for yourself on this fight is of course those tornadoes. They hurt a lot in this quaking leap. So you just saw I put my transcendence down and then I'm running out because I want to get the leap as far as I can for my group because it has fall off damage. And again, this fight there's actually like quite a bit of group damage and I'm not really running a group healing build right now, I guess you could say. So I want to make sure I'm helping my group take as little damage as possible. So I'm going to get out and as soon as I see him leap, I'm going to transcend back. I always like to wait until I see him do the leap animation. Because if you do it too early and you get King Desire to leap where you set your transcendence, you're going to kill your whole group. Alternatively, if you don't want to transcend there, you can just like wait until he leaps and then roll, and then you'll live just fine. But you'll take a little bit extra damage, but it's kind of up to you how much risk reward you want to take there. So again, we're just going to DPS. The obelisk down, Raban is going to come out. Raban is like the leaping raptor that you get first that does the AoE cleave just like the rest of the raptors in this dungeon, and just like the rest of the raptors you can ring him if you want to stop his cleave. So than that, you're basically just healing as much as you can off the Grievous that you're getting from the Quaking Leap, making sure you're staying far away enough from Raban that you're not just going to get one shot, and dodging those tornadoes as best you can. So the next scary fight is of course when T'Zala comes, which is right here. So this gets pretty messy for us. We almost threw the key here. So it's really scary when Raban is up, but thankfully we get him down right before that first fear comes out. What's really scary though is when the fear goes out and it fears you into a tornado. So it feared our tank into a tornado. It's also really scary because King Desire can do the blade combo during the fear and like blade combo your tank in the back. And it's hard because you really want to focus your tank, but when there's Grievous, it's really hard to jump everyone out of it. It's really dumb. I got hit by a Gale Slash there, so it gets me really low. And then this next fear is about to come off, and I'm gonna be like 1 second off my dampen, which is going to be really bad. So get myself mostly topped. And then I got feared into the tornado right there that you couldn't quite see because of the camera angle, but they're gonna res me. Everyone's really far into Grievous here though, so we're gonna lose some people in the next fear as well. T'Zala also, you really want to hope that T'Zala doesn't live past 2 fears. Like after 2 fears is when it gets really scary. Because everyone's out of defensives and your tank is barely hanging on. So really ideally you want to make sure that your mage like has combust and everyone is saving damage for T'Zala. I don't remember what CDs we had there. I'm pretty sure my mage did combust, but T'Zala living through 4 fears is pretty brutal to try and heal on a Grievous week. So after this, the timer's a little bit tight, but our mage gets another combust. We're gonna time it. So here I didn't have time to set a transcendence down because I was global locked because I decided to put my Crucible of Flame, so I decided to just roll out and make sure that I'm far enough for my group. And yeah. And then we just keep. And that's it. King's Rest is definitely one of the harder dungeons to heal just because it's so much single target healing and there's so much in here that's just deadly. So don't feel bad if you have trouble with King's Rest. Most groups do, especially on things like Zool and the 3rd Triad fight. yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and please let me know if there's anything I could have done to make this video more helpful.